Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. I'm Dave Valente, joined as always by, and I'm making whoopee with my making whoopee jersey. It's tobacco leaf, not pot leaf. Joined as always by El Chupacabra. Travis Reddick, how you doing, sir?
What's up, buddy? I'm good. It's been a Thursday. It's been a whole Thursday.
Yeah.
From the time that I woke up, it was Thursday to right now, it's still Thursday. So
But you know what? It's almost Friday.
that means nothing to me. Some people don't get weekends, Dave. We can't all be whatever you are. I still don't know what you do. I don't.
Friday. Got to get down on Friday.
I've known you for how many years? We're going on like 2 years.
I don't know what I do. So I mean,
I know that sometimes you work from home and sometimes you're not at home. I don't.
Yeah.
My job's simple. I buy stuff and then I sell stuff.
I die a
and
little.
Hopefully, I sell it for more than I bought it for. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't still be in this business.
Generally, my job is dying a little inside each day. I think that's my profession right now.
Okay, so you work for the government.
Yeah.
That's all you had to say.
Real life Ron Swanson. So anyway, so what game are you watching tonight?
I've got the Leafs game.
Yeah, me too, man.
The only one that looks somewhat entertaining.
Well, it's the only one that's got any playoff implications.
Of course you've got what probably actually will have the goals tonight. You've got the Carolina game.
Yep.
Also, sorry about the air conditioner in the background. It is finally warm enough here for me to have to do that.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, I got one with a thermostat. Have you ever seen a window unit with a thermostat?
No, I've not seen that.
This thing has changed my life.
Excellent.
I have climate control. It's in southern West Virginia. I'm like 2 steps away from Nigerian Prince.
He'll be bringing in all the ladies.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to see it from the street, dude.
Nice. So tonight's games, we got in the early window, Devils, Bruins, the Jets, and the Maple Leafs, which is the only game really that has playoff implication between the two teams, with both teams, mind you. The Blackhawks and Panthers, the Islanders and Blue Jackets, Canadians and Hurricanes. At 8 o'clock, you have the Penguins traveling to Minnesota to play the Wild.
That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, that should be a pretty good game. Both teams have been relatively playing relatively well the last little while heading into the playoffs. So that should be a very entertaining game. The Sharks and the Avalanche, Kings and the Flames, another game of playoff teams, but those teams look pretty set to be in the playoffs come the end of April. The other big game, I think, that has playoff implications, even though the Ducks are out of it, is Dallas and Anaheim. Dallas and Vegas have been jockeying back and forth for a while on that final wild card playoff spot out west. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but the Dallas Stars do have the advantage in that they are 4 have 4 games in hand on the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights are in trouble. But anyway, so let's talk about, bring everything back here. Last night was a rough game for your boys, man.
Yeah. It's the one piece of young talent that Arizona has that we were 100% set into holding on to. We might see him skate again this season, maybe.
Not this season. Maybe you might see him at the beginning of next season.
I'm staying optimistic.
No, it's already a broken leg, and it's 4 to 6 months.
It's broken.
Yeah.
Last I saw, it was still lower body. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. It was, at least it wasn't something super dirty that.
No, it was odd because
it was an actual accident. Like, I don't think there's any animosity on either side. It was a hockey play that went a little south. So
Yeah, I mean, the bright spot is it is 4 to 6 months, but 6 months, even the back end of that timeline puts him in training camp. So coming back in training camp. So we'll see him next season playing wherever they're playing next season.
yeah, we really needed him to sweep the playoffs for us. We were getting ready to make that big comeback, and we were going to come back and just take it over. But
I think it was what was that old soccer movie with Sylvester Stallone in it, where they broke his leg?
There was a soccer movie with Sylvester Stallone in it.
Yeah, it was actually based on a true story about some soccer team that played. I can't remember the whole story, but they were promised their freedom if they lost to the German team, and they ended up winning the game and then getting spirited out of the stadium somehow. It was a strange movie, but
so
to help preserve the final the last place finish for the Coyotes, you got to take out the one guy that is really good. So,
fun fact about soccer and my family: one of my great uncles scored the game-winning goal for Austria in the 1936 World Cup.
Nice.
Yeah. So
excellent.
He beat the Nazis.
Excellent.
Yeah. So we have a history of just beating Nazis. And then Austria got invaded. We're not even from Austria. I don't know how that dude got in Austria. It's just one of the weird things that happen, man. It's like,
if you look at half the European teams, like most of them are not. Most of them are like African-born, Middle Eastern-born.
I don't know how he even wound up there though, because how did the dude wind up in soccer in the first place? A Russian.
Well,
how many Russian soccer players have you heard of? It's just not.
It's gotten big over there now.
Yeah, but that was back in the days whenever it was all Middle Eastern. Everybody was Middle Eastern, but the white Middle Eastern. They were looking like Croatia and in that area.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so Clayton Keller's out 4 to 6 months, and he'll be back for training camp for next season for the Coyotes. So, I mean, the Coyotes don't have to tell a young kid that he shouldn't play as well over the next few weeks. I mean, there's a handful of games for the Coyotes left in the season. Let's see how many games they got left. Yeah, there are 67 games. They got 15 games left in the season. It would have been nice to get all the the stat padding and all that stuff he could have done, but we know he's developing nicely, and hopefully he comes back well from the injury.
I'll tell you what's going to be super interesting. There's one guy who spends all of his summers in Arizona. He's from Arizona, one of the hottest players in the league, and he is currently unhappy with the direction of the team that he plays for and has mentioned going home.
When Austin Matthews?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen 4 or 5 articles. So he's on year 3 of a 5-year contract. After that, unrestricted. Arizona's been dumping cap as much as we can. Around that time we will anyway. We picked up a little bit of payoff, but we have all those draft picks, and we could pick up an absolute superstar that wants to be in Glendale, Scottsdale, that area.
Yeah.
How cool would that be, huh? We've mentioned it before. It just right now looks a little more realistic.
It does. I wouldn't put anything in it until next trade deadline at the earliest, and maybe over the summer of next season, just because I don't think the Leafs are quite ready to blow it up. Now, if they first round bomb out again, we could see some massive changes in Toronto. I fully expect Kyle Dubas to be fired. If Dubas is fired, likely the coach Sheldon Keefe will get fired. Is it Sheldon Keefe? Whoever the coach is for Toronto. and just massive changes up and down the lineup. Now, I think they would move Marner before they move Matthews, but if Matthews is all gung ho about going home, then uh, it may be hard because I don't think that Matthews is quite UFA eligible, is he?
He will be in 2 years. He's on the third year.
Yeah, so in 2 years, well, I mean, uh, so he doesn't have. I don't know about the particulars of the contract. If he's got a no trade clause or anything like that in that, where he could kind of dictate where he goes. Because if I'm the Leafs, I'm not sure that I could trade him just to Arizona. There's great draft capital out there in Arizona right now, but you stick Austin Matthews on that team, the draft capital is probably not going to be as good as you thought when you acquired it. So, plus only being able to trade one team allows that team to really kind of set the price for him. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it'd be great because it'd be fantastic for marketing for Arizona. I mean, you get the hometown kid back, the superstar back. You're not going to have. I mean, either way, you're not going to really have too much problem filling a 5,000 seat barn for a few seasons. But it's going to put more impetus to getting the new arena built in Tempe or wherever they're going to build it.
Well, it's gonna. I think that Austin Matthews would bring a lot of people back to Arizona as fans.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm not the only one that was thinking about jumping ship. Like, it's hit the fan base pretty hard, man. Everybody's frustrated, especially your season ticket holders. They hate the Coyotes right now.
Well, I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as a Sabres fan because we have struggled for so long. The only thing that we have not faced the same as the Coyotes. Now, the Coyotes made the playoffs recently.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, during the bubble. Buffalo is now 11 seasons, counting this one.
Ooh, got a nice goal. Blake Wheeler.
Blake Wheeler.
Nasty.
The interesting thing about the Jets is that they're playing down Kyle Connor and I believe a defenseman. I can't remember who it is, but Schultz. One of the defensemen is out with COVID, and they can't They couldn't travel into Canada because of the COVID rules. Although the COVID rules are relaxed as of tomorrow in Canada, so you don't have to test to go into the country. But yeah, we're still dealing with COVID players. It's interesting to still have to hear about COVID out players being out from COVID. But the one thing with Arizona that we haven't faced in Buffalo is Buffalo's had rather stable ownership and stable, like, not since the whole Adelphia meltdown in 2001 has there been talk about moving the Sabres.
I don't feel like the Sabres could be moved.
They could be.
I don't think so. I don't think the Buffalo could move. I don't know, man. It's one of those teams that's so cemented in history that it's in Buffalo.
I think if they the one thing that will guarantee a team kind of stays where it is at, because we really haven't had one move, is the Stanley Cup. Yeah, Cup winner. If Florida wins the Cup this season, you can kind of put to bed the idea of moving the Panthers out of Miami. If Buffalo ever wins the Cup, that pretty much guarantees that they'll stay in Buffalo. Buffalo is a wonderful hockey market. Like I couldn't see not having Buffalo, but if they said, okay, well, we're moving to Hamilton,
I don't think that we're going to see another team come in.
Yeah, you're not going to see expansion unless they commit to expanding by 4. I don't, and it's going to have to be like a all at one time 4-team expansion, because it just throws the league in imbalance, and it creates kind of an unfair playing surface between the divisions and everything. They'd have to expand by 4, I don't know. I don't think Buffalo's on the slate of being moved. I don't think that Arizona now is on the slate of being moved.
I mean, we're still not locked into ASU's arena.
Okay.
So until we are signed in, like games scheduled, I'm
Sure.
not buying it. I'm just
Sure.
not.
I get you
And
on
if
that.
something was to happen to Bettman tomorrow, the first thing that the new
That-
commissioner would do is axe Coyotes. So,
Yeah, I mean, I could see that if Bettman.
and he's getting older, man. Every day, it's getting a little closer.
Yeah, well, he also has Parkinson's as well, so
Yeah,
you know, um, has battled that for years. I mean, he's done relatively well with his Parkinson's treatment. So
that's usually how it goes until it doesn't.
yeah. Uh, let's see. Peter Mrazek is out for the rest of the regular season, and probably at least a couple rounds of the playoffs. 4 to 6 weeks is what they're saying, with a groin injury. Although I really don't think it matters much at this point because Shelgren has kind of taken over the Leafs' goaltending role, and unless he keeps losing like that, but keeps losing to Winnipeg, teams like that. But um, uh, right now you got Hutchinson in the backing him up, who's a long time kind of backup, a fringe AHL goaltender, and it looks like whatever his name, their main starter is progressing nicely. Is
Campbell.
injury. Jack Campbell, yeah, he's progressing nice. He just posted to Twitter that he's up and moving around and getting ready to come back in. I think because of cap reasons, he may not come back in until the end of the season. Be there for the playoffs. That's just a dangerous game to play with in a 7-game series, bringing a goalie that hasn't played in a few months. I wonder if they do like an emergency, because there is a way to do for an injured goaltender to send him down to the AHL for a couple of games without waiver implications. And I wonder if they do that. But I mean that's a dangerous precedent to go and throw a goalie in that's been out for. It'll be about 2 months now since we've seen Jack Campbell play for the Leafs.
Shelgren has made one thing extremely apparent. There is a cheat code for Shelgren, and it's going to be the downfall of this Leafs back end. If you just rush him, every time he gets rushed, it's a nonstop.
Yeah.
You can watch every goal that's been scored on him is like almost in the crease, quick flip, it's gone. So I don't know if maybe he gets a little bit jumpy if somebody coming in on him that quick or what the issue is. But, I mean, it's very apparent how you beat him. And it's interesting to watch,
Or just have a nice wraparound goal. It's 2-0 Winnipeg. You got a little scrambling with players behind the net, too.
All right, I'm going to catch it real quick. I see the setup. Yeah. Like I said, every goal on this kid is 3 feet and across a line. So
that was a nice wraparound. Stastny with the
little Stastman.
My wife for a while called those reach around goals. I had to explain to her what a reach around was.
I wouldn't have corrected her. I'd let her have it. You want to call it a reach around? Call it a reach around. I'll
call it a reach around. Yeah.
I kind of prefer she did call it a reach around. Actually,
hey, kind of the same thing going on there, but hey,
makes it a lot more entertaining.
Different strokes for different things.
Just reached around into the net.
Yes. And stuffed it.
Yeah, filled it up.
Yes.
Made the siren go off.
So
No icing on that call.
what have I done? This is a subject very near and dear to my heart. Have the Sabres finally turned the corner on their forever rebuild?
Yeah.
Look at them, 7 straight games with a point, which not all wins. I think it's 4-3, 3 overtime losses.
Still, it's Buffalo. Take the wins where you can get them.
Well, yeah. I mean, so at the beginning of the season, we had essentially Jack Eichel, who was not going to play for us ever again. We had Rasmus Dahlin. We had Jeff Skinner's massive contract, and we had a bunch of kids and a bunch of just decrepit vets on $750,000 contracts. That was pretty much the entire makeup of the team. We finally get the Jack Eichel deal done. For the most part, and they put Peyton Krebs, key piece of that, in Rochester to begin with. But once Alex Tuck returned to the lineup from his preseason injury, they bring up Krebs. This team has played well, and I think it was very cathartic when we beat Jack Eichel when he came into Buffalo, and then the next game we beat, our hated rivals in the Leafs in the big outdoor game that was on their turf, even though it was our home game. I think that kind of signaled that this team is moving past the mistakes of the past, and I don't know that they're that far away from being at least a competitive for the playoffs team. Do I think they make the playoffs next season? I don't know. Generally,
no, but every time they're a little closer. That's kind of the big win here, is just constant momentum forward. It's something that a lot of teams are struggling to get right now, and Buffalo's probably one of the only ones that's actually making forward progress.
Yeah, of the struggling teams, the Sabres are doing the best out of that group right now because, they about a month ago they were probably third from the bottom, and it looked like that perhaps that they were going to kind of do that end of season swoon and be competitive for the tank, and now they're
competitive.
Let's see the standings. They are in the Eastern Conference. They are the 6th in the wild card, so they're above 4 other teams in the Eastern Conference, and they're above 3 other teams in the Western Conference. The other night they had just an absolutely wild game against the Chicago Blackhawks. They went down 4-0, and I'm just watching the game, and I'm scrolling on my phone, and every time Chicago scored, I was kind of like one of those old ladies in a hair salon with the hairs under it, just going, like, yep, we're just going to wear this one tonight. And then they started scoring. Now, to my benefit, I had watched the game with the Golden Knights the Sunday before with the Blackhawks, where the Golden Knights erased a 3-goal deficit and won in overtime. I was going to be satisfied if they just got it to overtime, even if they lost in overtime. I thought that they may have lost it when DeBrincat scored on the power play with about 7 minutes left. But what a weird ending to that game. Did you see the game-winning goal? Tage Thompson takes a slapper from the left circle and snaps. Well, he snaps his twig. The twig and the puck are almost going at the same pace to the end board. Hit the end board. Come off the puck comes off the end board and hits a sliding Kevin Lankinen's skate. He's sliding back towards the goal. He kicks it into his own net, and Buffalo takes a 6-5 lead with about 11 seconds left. Absolutely crazy. I've never seen something like that goal before.
Yeah, that one definitely made the weird NHL channel.
Yeah, definitely. That's a dang it.
I'm surprised that Steve Dangle hasn't come out and said something about it.
I probably will. Probably have something this week. But yeah, it's actually fun to watch Sabres games again. It used to be just kind of. I mean, there were games last season where I was just like, I can't watch this. I can't.
Well, it was funny too. The same day as that crazy comeback, what came up in my memories?
Was that the Philadelphia game?
Yeah.
Oh God.
This is the exact same day.
Uh,
For those of you that don't know, last year I was messing with Dave as hard as I possibly could about
18-game losing streak.
the
It was the
Sabres
18th
winning a
game.
game, and they were up by 3, and they let Philly come back and grab them.
Yeah, it was,
I kept, oh no, Buffalo's going to win. Buffalo's going to win the game. Dave's like, shut up. No, no, Dave. Buffalo's going to win the game. Yeah, they've got the, and then Philly scores. Yeah, so we went back and forth, and then Philly actually came back and won the game.
God, it was
Yeah, it's set a new record, right? Or no, tied the record.
for losing.
Yeah.
The 18th. Yeah, it was the 18th game of the losing streak. They tied the record, and fortunately, they played Philadelphia again a couple nights later, and they beat the doors off them 6-3. They got
And the
that
whole world
lead
was
up.
like, oh, we didn't get to see history we made. This sucks.
I was glad, and it's quite a ways we've come since that day. Because I mean, you think of the lineup that we had back then. We had Sam Reinhart, we had Rasmus Ristolainen, um, Jake McCabe. Those guys are all gone. One went through free agent. We had he wasn't playing, I don't think, but Linus Olmark. None of those guys are there anymore, and I think we're a better team now than we were there, which is sad because I would take Sam Reinhart back in a heartbeat.
The statistics also think you're a better team now.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll lay most of it on Donnie Granato and the system he's put in Buffalo to play to his team strengths. And, I think looking back over the season when we struggled, it's almost like he's been building this team this season. That the results earlier in the season weren't as big of a thing. It was building on how to play the right way, and they're putting it all together right now. I haven't seen a team like this hit anyone else for, gosh, I mean, maybe the 90s, the late 90s. As much hitting as this team does, how they stick up for one another, and how they don't wilt when they get down. They were down 4-0 to Chicago. They were down 2-0 to the Rangers within like 5 minutes the other night, and they fought their way back and got that one into overtime.
Looks like Rob Ray's out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got some players, and one of the surprising guys that steps up when there is any kind of altercation on the ice is Rasmus Dahlin. And I would never have expected that. I thought, Rasmus is going to be your, power play quarterback and good defensively, but not the rock'em sock'em guy. He's whenever there's a kerfuffle, he is in the corner with everyone squaring off. So
yeah, just kerfuffling all around there, just fuffling in it, just curring and purring. I'm tired. If you guys can't tell, it's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
I've yawned 6 times in 30 minutes, so
it's all good. Aaron Ekblad is progressing nicely, according to Coach Andrew Burnett.
Ekblad comes back, man. That team is going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, this is another team. I think he has to stay out until the playoffs start. There was no revised time frame given, but the original time frame is that he was going to miss the rest of the regular season and some of the first round. So I'm anticipating with this news that he's going to miss the rest of the regular season. Probably could have come back at the end of the regular season, but they'll have him ready for the playoffs. Not as critical. I mean, it's one thing to put a defenseman into the lineup, having not played for a while, versus what the Leafs are planning on doing with Jack Campbell. And that game is still 2-0. Yeah, I mean that team is just ridiculous. It's absolutely stacked, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the playoffs. Again, they're in the Atlantic, and there's some tough battles ahead. I'm hoping for a Tampa Florida matchup again. I'm actually hoping that Florida emerges from that one just because
Tampa, Florida's going to be a better game than the Cup.
could be, yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good series last year. So,
Yeah.
and it's only going to get better with all the players that Florida have added this season and how they fit in. Leafs have introduced a third jersey. It's
It's so bad.
It's a reversible jersey, and one side looks good. The side that they wore on the ice the other night looked good, but I mean, it was really kind of like a 1990s shout out to the gang, to Gangland wear with all black with the blue Toronto Maple Leaf and the blue striping. It seemed like everybody in the 90s was trying to do this all black jersey to sell the games, basically. And the other side, though, is probably the most questionable. I ain't trying to bring this thing up.
The yellow.
Yeah, it's so like, where? Why?
It's the color of a school bus.
Again, it's all black since it is
so bad.
Jersey.
Also, reversible jersey. That's a weird gimmick. That seems like a starter thing. That doesn't even seem like a modern NHL thing.
All right, let's take a look at this monstrosity.
Show me the uglies. There's the uglies.
There's the
what's going on here? Is it a smiley face?
Yeah, that's
the mouth is leaves.
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't get. Like I saw this and I thought, oh, that's somebody's just joking with that jersey.
Is it an emoji?
I don't know. So this was designed by Justin Bieber.
Okay, well, it's terrible.
Baby, 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 no.
Look at that. It's just, why?
Again, if it was just that weird gold leaf in the middle of the middle of the outline leaf, it's okay. It's okay. But the eyes in the leaf's mouth? Why?
It honestly would have been better if it was like an Andy Warhol Campbell's soup can with a maple leaf on
different maple leaves. It would have made more sense.
Or like a jug of maple syrup, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Bieber didn't go that route, because he could have done whatever he wanted. They worship that kid. Yeah, it seems like it should have something completely different. Like, it should not be that.
Again,
it reminds me of like a. Oh, geez, is there even a nice word for this? I have to censor myself. It's like if somebody tried to rip off the Pittsburgh Color Rush jersey, but didn't want you to know it, and also was tripping acid and thought that emojis could talk.
Yeah, I just don't understand. One, the gold color. The Leafs have never had gold in their history.
No, they could have done red. They could have done green.
Yeah, red maple leaf would have made more sense, or even like a red one that is kind of colorated like a actual maple leaf in the fall. Something along those lines.
Or just a hyper realistic maple leaf. Actually, you know what? Scrap all this. Let's just do a jersey with just maple leaves all over it.
Stapled onto the onto the player.
Yeah, hot glue maple leaves all over a jersey.
Leaves all over the ice during the game.
every hit, there's just mulch.
Yeah,
there
you go. Yeah, this was just so odd. Of all the jerseys I've seen, again, I don't have a problem with the main blue one, which is
it looks like a standard Toronto tried to do something different, but not different enough, like Buffalo does.
Yeah.
It's
hey, when we do different, then you get the slug. So I mean, we had some reason for some conservatism here.
Yeah, I mean it's like a standard black and blue Toronto jersey.
Yeah.
If you showed me this one against any other Toronto jersey that has black on it, I couldn't tell you which one's which.
Well, it looks like it really does look like a practice jersey. In fact, I've got a while back they did like a set that they sold of black jerseys. I got one for the Capitals. It looks good. I mean, whenever I
Hey,
wear it,
Thomas.
but whenever I wear it out, and by the way, it's an Ovechkin one, not a Wilson one. People stop me and ask me like, "Hey, where'd you get that jersey? Where's that? When did the Caps wear that jersey?" I'm like, they didn't really wear it. It was a practice one that they sold, and I think I found it like TJ Maxx or something, or a bargain bin or something like that. But it was ridiculously cheap. That's probably most of the reason why I bought it was that it was ridiculously cheap, but it still looks good. This really should have been a practice jersey, and that reversible side should never have seen the light of day.
I think this has opened a door, though. I'm going to go write Nashville about doing a moonshine jug. The maple syrup got me thinking. A moonshine jug with eyes on it. Maybe within the next few years, the NHL will do an emoji series. And this will be the forerunner of the emoji series. And it's just your logo in emoji yellow with eyeballs and maybe a word. Maybe a mouth, maybe little teeth.
It could be their new mascot. It could be Juggy.
Yeah.
Mascot, just a big old moonshine jug.
Yeah, Jed. Jed's his
Jed.
name.
Yeah. Jed.
It's Uncle Jed.
2-1 Toronto just scored, so they're in the ball game. They actually have
Giordano's on the ice.
Oh, Old Timers Day.
I think he actually got an assist on that.
4 shots for Winnipeg in this game. 2 scored on 2 of them. That's not stellar goaltending on the Leafs.
Giordano actually scored that.
Whoa,
man! These alumni games are getting serious.
Yeah, they are. The Jets need to bring out Dustin Byfuglien.
God, I wish. Dude, I miss Byfuglien so much.
I do too, man.
That was the guy. Remember when everyone went bowling? Man. Remember the bowling? He took out 3 players at once.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a guy, man. He was a horse.
Byfuglien is like what happens if a rugby player can skate.
Oh, wow! Toronto almost tied it up. A nice little rush. I don't know who's playing. Is it Comrie? Or is it Hellebuck tonight?
Whenever it goes back down to that end of the ice, you should be able to tell because Hellebuck stands about 2 nets tall.
Yeah, he's pretty tall. But I think Comrie's tall as well.
I think Comrie's like 6'5". Hellebuck's like 6'7".
Yeah.
Very, very noticeable 2 inches.
I actually anticipate Hellebuck playing tonight because of it being such an important game. Oh, it is Comrie. Hellebuck played a hell of a game last night against Buffalo. There's some really awesome chances for the Sabres in regulation and overtime, and Hellebuck was just kind of Gumby all over the ice and stopped all but a couple of Zemgus Girgenssen's shots. But let's take a look at the scores as we see them right now. Let me get that scores back up. All right, so 1-0 in Boston. We've got a goal by Grzelcyk. Oh, yeah, it's
Grzelcyk.
The game that we're watching, Wheeler and Stastny and Mark Giordano scored for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's no score between the Panthers and the Blackhawks, which is probably a record for the Blackhawks lately.
I was about to say that one's pretty surprising. I figured it'd be at least 4-0 by now.
Probably Chicago 4-0, and then we'll wait for the comeback. No lead is safe for the Chicago Blackhawks at this point. Islanders are up 2-0 on the Blue Jackets. Aho, the other Aho, and Oliver Wahlstrom have scored. And the Hurricanes are up on the Canadians 1-0. The other Aho, the other Sebastian Aho.
Okay, Sebastian Aho's got 2 tonight.
Yeah, so 2. It's at the tale of 2 Sebastian Ahos. It's the first one for the Islanders, Sebastian Aho. Now, to be fair, he's a defenseman.
31st.
And 31st for the better Sebastian Aho.
Yeah, the one that matters.
Yeah. So let's see. The Rangers made some decent deadline acquisitions. One of them, sneaky good, was the Frankie Vatrano acquisition from Florida to help them clear some space. They also got Andrew Kopp from Winnipeg, and they got who is it they got from Vancouver? Anyway, both Kopp and Vatrano have been scoring almost every game for the Rangers. Kopp had the game-winning goal last night in Detroit. Vatrano has scored probably in 3 state games, I believe. But they have filled in nicely, and the Rangers are definitely on a heater for the Eastern Conference. They've moved within 3 points of Carolina. They're 8-2 over the last 10, won 4 in a row. And it's these new guys who've kind of injected a lot of energy into the lineup. So I guess we can go into the discussion on the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, the matchups would be Carolina would be taking on Washington. They'd be hosting Washington, and
Fun
the
series.
Rangers would be taking on Pittsburgh. Rangers would have home ice in that. I actually think both of those series will be good. I think Carolina is far better than Washington. Washington is kind of a shell of the team that won the Cup a few years ago, and ever since they've won the Cup, they've been bounced to the first rounds. I would not anticipate the Caps moving beyond the first round against Carolina. But the Rangers and Pittsburgh, that should be a very entertaining series, because while the Rangers have really taken that next step this season, they're still just there's not much playoff experience in the team besides Panarin. And I think they had a little bit in the bubble a couple of years ago, but
man, Panarin's playoff experience is a confusing blur. It's just Tortorelli screaming at him the entire time.
Yeah, it should be a lot more relaxed situation. Although playing in New York is never really a relaxed situation to play. But we've talked about it before. It looks, Artemi Panarin was made to play in New York. That was, he's a big city guy. And
he loves New York.
Yeah.
I think that he'll retire with the Rangers.
He's not going to go back to the KHL. I was thinking maybe he goes back to the KHL.
No. He goes back to the KHL, he's getting poisoned.
Yeah. As long as Vladimir Putin is on the plus side of the turf, he's not going back to the KHL.
Speaking of which, did you see about the poisoning the other day?
Yeah,
the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, Roman Abramovich, the current-ish owner of Chelsea Football Club, Premier League, although he's in the process of selling the team off, was poisoned during the negotiations. That's Kremlin MO, man.
Wonder who did it.
Yeah. Not wondering too hard.
This is the easiest whodunit of all time.
Yeah. In the Atlantic, we're going to have Florida versus Boston in the first round. Although I think the Atlantic standings could change. Everyone's on 66 games, so you're talking 16 games left in the regular season. I think Florida's pretty solid in that number 1 position. Tampa could go up or down, or it could go down a little bit. Boston could come up. They're only 2 points behind Toronto. But as it stands now, Florida will be taking on Boston, and then Tampa will be taking on Toronto. I would give the advantage in both those series to the Florida teams. But there's still a chance. I mean, Boston's been playing well. They're 7-2-1 over the last 10. Same with Toronto. They're 6-3-1. There still is a chance that both those teams remain hot going down the stretch, and you see that Tampa is 5-5-0 over the last 10. That Tampa could get past, and we get that first round stem winder of a series between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers.
We can only get so lucky. That would be sick.
Yeah. Tampa does seem a lot more vulnerable this season than they did in the last few seasons, but I just can't discount their playoff experience. Once the playoffs start, that they're going to be, if they're taking on Toronto, there's so much that I can't trust about Toronto.
They're going to eat Toronto alive.
Yeah, I mean, they reformed their, kind of grind line that they relied on in the playoffs last season. Although I will say that trade for Chicago is already paying dividends. Radish is playing really well for the Blackhawks. Kachuk is kind of a shift disturber, and of course they get the 2 draft picks off of it. Tampa is still kind of struggling coming out of the trade deadline, so we'll see what happens there. Although they have won 3 in a row, so maybe they've turned the ship around. But yeah, I just at some point in the playoffs, give me a Tampa versus Florida matchup, because I hate both Toronto and Boston, and I hope they both lose in the first round.
I'm amazed that Boston's as high in the rankings as they are.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. There's such a gulf between the top 8 teams. Like, there's no question of which 8 teams are going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, because they're honestly, I think every team that makes the playoffs in the Eastern Conference is going to be a plus 100-point team.
Yeah, I mean, the Washington Ovechkins, I figured, would be number 1, at least for the wild card. But honestly, at this point, I had Washington pegged to be number 3 in the actual standings, and then Toronto to be a high wild card. So we'll see how that plays out, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I just don't think that Washington has the horses that they've had in the past to get them above where they're at. I think that's pretty well earned second wild card. And again, it's no shame, and they're 84 points at this point. 84 points in the Western Conference would have them in second place in the Pacific and in third place in the Central Division. Again, there's just a gulf between the 2 wildcard teams and Columbus, who is sitting on 69 points. They're 15 points behind Washington. There's no chance that Columbus goes on a heater and catches Washington. So we know the 8 teams are playing in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference. It's all about seeding at this point. I'm pretty confident about both Carolina and Florida winning their divisions, and it'll be a fight between them and Colorado on President's Trophy. Although that really just doesn't mean a whole lot, other than determining home ice advantage. That's
and the curse.
Yeah. Not too many President's Trophy teams win the Stanley Cup. So
I took Minnesota as my future for the Cup winner.
You put a future on that one?
Yeah, I called them at like 1,200.
Ooh, that's a good price, man. Because they're on a heater right now. They're 7 in a row.
Yeah, they're not slowed down either. I've gained so much faith in Minnesota. Like,
you got the power there, man. You got goaltending there. You got Kaprizov.
I honestly just love Kirill. I don't even care what team he plays for. He could be playing for Scranton Wilkesburg right now, and I'd say they're going to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Colorado is the first 100-point team in the NHL this season. They've got let's see, they've got 15 games left. I mean, they could outside. They have a chance at maybe. I mean, if they go 10-5, they could catch Detroit's. I think Detroit had the 120-point season. So I mean, it's theoretical that Colorado could do that in their remaining 15 games. That's 10-5 is not a that's not beyond the stretch of the imagination when it comes to Colorado. So, uh, you know, can they get to 60 wins? That's a little bit more of a stretch because that means they would have to go 13-2 over the final 15 games. That's more of a stretch, but that's Colorado. They had some periods where they kind of scuffled along early in the season, but man, they really turned it on this second half. But in the Western Conference, there is so much. There are so many more teams that are involved in the playoffs. It's like you could still have. Well, right now, we've got if the playoffs started today, Colorado will be taking on Vegas. Which, yes, please, that would be a fun series to watch. Still think Colorado has the firepower to get past Vegas. But the wild card with Vegas is that they start getting pieces back if they can make the playoffs. They'll get Mark Stone back. They should be able to get Max Pacioretty in the lineup unless he hurts himself again. Robin Leonard is back. He was back up last night, so he's back in nets. Although the young kid Thompson actually got a shutout against Seattle, which is not, it's Seattle. Seattle's just was officially eliminated from the playoffs last night. So, but yeah, so Colorado.
The expansion team's going to win a cup this time.
And then they did the draft. Colorado, Vegas, Minnesota would be taking on St. Louis, which I think that would be a good series. Although, St. Louis keeps hanging around there. I mean, they've despite Minnesota winning 7 in a row, they're still just 3 points behind. Although Minnesota does have a game in hand.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty easy one for Minnesota. I think really the only opposition they would face is going to be Colorado or Edmonton. Actually, Edmonton would be a challenge for Minnesota's goaltending, but other than that, I don't.
Yeah,
nobody else is really put together in the West.
Yeah, Calgary right now would be taking on Nashville, which
would
be
a good series.
Actually, wait a minute, would they?
Yeah.
No, actually,
be Vegas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so no, it would be Colorado versus Nashville because that would be if there's teams from each division in the wild cards, then the team from the Central will play the team from the Central that made the wild card. So Colorado,
Vegas.
Yeah, Calgary will be Vegas. Vegas. I don't think Vegas can handle that.
The Vagabonds.
Yeah, I just don't think that Vegas can handle Calgary. Calgary is just.
If it was a healthy Vegas and Mark Stone was going to be 100%, and they've got everybody's out, man.
Yeah,
it's sketchy times right now for them.
Even though Robin Leonard's coming back, do you trust the goaltending in Vegas? I will forever maintain that they made the mistake in giving the net to him because I think Fleury was the better goaltender. They could have rode him for another season or two, and while they got another goaltender, homegrown goaltender or acquired one in free agency.
Fleury is getting ready to get his cup.
Yeah, he's on Team Thrill. But yeah, so Los Angeles will be taking on Edmonton. They played last night, and that was a hell of a game. Edmonton won in overtime. That game was not good news for the Vegas Golden Knights, even though Vegas won their game and moved back into that wild card position. Problem for Vegas is Looking behind them is the Dallas Stars, who have a better point percentage. They played 4 less games. They're only 1 point behind them in the standings. Really, for Vegas to even feel comfortable at this point, they're going to have to catch either Edmonton or Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
And again, and the thing that benefits them with Edmonton and Los Angeles is that they're much more comparable in games played. Edmonton has a game in hand on them. They're 3 points up on Vegas, and 4 points up for Los Angeles. They're even on games played. Um, but Dallas really is kind of in the driver's seat with the Western Conference, and at least for the wild card. Conceivable that they can catch Nashville if Nashville falls off the planet, but they're playing relatively well, 6-4 in the last 10. But man, Vegas is in trouble. This is how do they handle the pressure of their first really competitive playoff run? I mean, their first 3 seasons or 4 seasons, however long they've been going, they've never really had to struggle for the playoffs. They've been free and clear by the time the final month of the season rolls along. This is and they're putting on the shoulders of a guy that has never been to the playoffs. I will say that Jack Eichel does look good. I mean, I've been watching the Vegas games, rooting against them the last few games because if they miss the playoffs, it's good for Buffalo because we hold the first round draft pick. So, all the better to have a higher first round draft pick for us. But that's if I'm Vegas management, that's scary. If they miss the playoffs, you got to think that perhaps some heads will roll in Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas doesn't know how to lose yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, and I think people will point to the fact that they put all their eggs in this, put Mark Stone on long-term IR, bring Jack Eichel in, and let him play, and thinking that they would be free and clear in the playoffs, which they were kind of in that position when he came on. It just you have Robert Leonard go out, you have defensive issues. Shea Theodore was out. They finally got him back. They're so far up against the cap that they're even if they Mark Stone was completely healthy and ready to go, can't put him in the lineup because then you're way out of cap compliance. I think if they miss the playoffs, they're in such cap hell going into next season that there's a chance that they might blow this up in the offseason and deal off some parts because you got a long-term contract for Stone, long-term contract for Pacioretty, long-term contract for Leonard, long-term contract for Eichel. So much money is devoted to so few players on that team. They're going to have to sell off guys like Riley Smith, Shea Theodore, perhaps. There's a long-term contract for Alex Pietrangelo as well. But some of these middling level players, Braden McNabb might have to go. And what kind of team do they have coming up next year? And maybe it's maybe the disaster scenario for the Sabres happened. The Vegas Golden Knights miss the playoffs, but they win the draft lottery, move up 10 spots, triggering the top 10 protection on that draft pick. So the Sabres lose the draft pick this season and get the draft pick next season. But they still may be forced to blow up the team and have a non-competitive, non-playoff team next season. I don't know. Vegas is a very interesting place right now. It's almost we have to make the playoffs this season. We have to make some noise in the playoffs this season, or it's a dead season for us. Perhaps the beginning of a downfall for the franchise for a while, the first one that they've had.
The curse of Eichel.
I hate to say it like that. I mean, as much as the Buffalo Sabres fans felt done dirty by Eichel, I don't want to put that on him. I don't think he deserves that, but
Yeah, but it sounds good.
They're
It's a
especially
nice the curse
well,
vibe.
Greg Wyshynski after the Leafs game, the Heritage Classic game, he tweeted out, uh, "What will be the narrative if the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs before Jack Eichel does?" And I mean, let's say they blow it down the stretch and they have to rebuild. Now Jack Eichel's stuck on a second rebuilding team. Um, Granted, I think it's easier for them to make the playoffs out in the West than it will be in the East. But there are teams in the West that are coming up. The Kings are a little bit ahead of schedule, but they're going to be a strong team next year. Um, the Ducks are going to be a
Called
strong.
it.
The Ducks are going to be a stronger team. The Troy Terry and Zegras are only going to get better.
Oh yeah, and Milano.
Yeah, and Milano. Um, and they got some good pieces out of the Hampus Lindholm and Manson and all that stuff. So I don't know. I would feel for Jack Eichel if he's stuck on a second rebuilding team and plays. Now we're talking about his prime years, and he wastes prime years in Vegas where he's not getting in the playoffs, because then if he starts to ask for a trade out of Vegas, now he's a problem, and he's a problem child, and that's going to hurt him long term. He's not in a good situation. Again, I hope part of me hopes he makes the playoffs just so he gets that experience and doesn't get tagged with the curse.
Look at Dave being a good sportsman.
But part of me is like, go down in flames. Go down in flames. I want that draft pick.
I like Dave. He's trying to get a sportsmanlike conduct medal.
Yeah. Let's see. Sad news in the NHL. The owner of the Ottawa Senators, Eugene Melnyk, died on Tuesday after a brief illness. I wasn't even aware he was sick. I don't know if it was like, yeah. I mean,
the only thing that I got was headline. He's dead.
Yeah. I sent you the link the other night. That was, it happened around 10 o'clock that night. It was just announced. It really wasn't like I was watching hockey at that point. No, it wasn't like a really big story that broke across all the games. But Eugene Melnyk, he was a pharmaceutical company owner, and bought the Ottawa Senators. I mean, I don't think he was the original owner of the Senators, but this is an interesting time for the Senators because they've been rebuilding. It's stalled out a little bit this season. They were, let's see, they're now second from the bottom in the Eastern Division or Eastern Conference, 52 points on the season, 66 games played. So they got 16 games left, and 394 points percentage is not great, and 3-6-1 in the last 10. So they've fallen off. They had a pretty good start to the season. They weren't ever threatening the playoffs, but they were they were competitive early in the season. They did cast off some pieces for the trade deadline. Did pick up a couple pieces, some draft picks, and but it's an interesting time for Ottawa because they're kind of in year 3 or so of their rebuild from the time they went from one game, actually an overtime goal away from playing for the 2017 Stanley Cup to being the worst team in the league the next season, trading off Erik Karlsson and all those players, and they've been rebuilding ever since. And they're kind of in year 3 of that more stabilized rebuild. I would have hoped as an Ottawa fan that you're a little further along, and you start to get that whisper, is this rebuild going to be like Buffalo's, where it goes on for far longer than it should? Did we, the issue with Buffalo is they dealt away, draft capital to try and speed along the rebuild. I think they're doing it right. I mean, I like Brady Tkachuk as the captain. I like They don't have goaltending. That's the big thing with the franchise right now is they need to find a long-term solution in goal. But yeah, where does the Ottawa rebuild go from here? Now that they're going to have they're going to have a change in the owner, maybe not new ownership overall. Who's the I don't even know who's going to be taking over the franchise. It probably hasn't been.
Oh, dude, I'd say it'll probably be a kid, one of the children of.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a situation like when Bill Wirtz died in Chicago, and Rocky took over the franchise and really, revitalized the franchise because his dad was perfectly fine with icing a team that was just, not competitive, playing in not putting their games on TV, playing it, when you actually watch, like when Buffalo would play Chicago, if you watch the games on TV there, the arena was never lit adequately for TV, so it was like watching like an old dark, it was kind of hard to watch a game. And when they played in Chicago, they really turned out around the fortunes of the franchise. Uh, what maybe an injection of youth into the ownership, because there have been a lot of uh, uh, questions about the ownership over the rebuild, particularly early on. Not having any control over the team. The stuff with Eric Carlson. Um, how that ended, and how the team just kind of completely fell apart in the space of the season. Um, you know, maybe we'll see an injection of youth and a change of direction, but it could also go the wrong way. It could be like Buffalo, where they say, well, we need to speed along the rebuild. Let's deal off some draft capital and maybe a prospect or two to bring in a big name player and set yourself back. Let's see. Oh, one of the best stories of the week. In Philadelphia, a little kid. So if you've ever been to an NHL game, during the intermissions, a lot of teams like to do these little mini games. So they bring out the little cute kids to skate around the ice and cut it up and for like 5 minutes of the intermission. And
This kid is a future Hall of Famer.
Absolutely, I just put him in now. Just
Yeah, you
next
should
one.
be in there already.
So a little kid used his time during the mini intermission game to not play hockey, but to fight Gritty and beat up Gritty, which
Twice.
all four, yeah, twice. Dropped the gloves twice, and I'm all for that because Gritty is creepy as shit.
Gritty, that kid's facing his fears, man. That's what that was. That was therapy in motion.
That was
that kid finally got to take on the monster under his bed.
And honestly, I mean, the kid. We got a game tying goal in Toronto.
You gotta quit saying that stuff, man. I'm behind you.
Shot from Matthews, looks like Nylander got the goal on the rebound. But the kid probably has like hepatitis now from fighting Gritty. I would assume that there's some kind of STD or communicable disease somewhere in that suit of his.
Philadelphia has their own. They have their own strains of stuff up there.
Hep Philly.
if you've ever seen Kensington, you would definitely believe that Philadelphia has its own.
I spent a week. I spent a week in Philadelphia a few years ago working.
Did you go to Kensington? Did you ever see it?
No.
So if you're in Kensington, there are people openly walking down the street with bags of heroin, bindles of heroin, just selling their wares, man, holding them up. Cops walk up like, "Hey, get out of here!" And then they just like move down the street a little bit and start doing it again.
That's what libertarians want. But
it's a wild place.
Actually, no. The place that I stayed, it was downtown, and right by the car park, somebody just took a dump, like right there at the entrance.
Yeah, that's Philadelphia.
Just dropped it.
Always sunny there. Always Sunny.
It was always sunny and humid, and it made it smell. It was the week. So I don't know if you remember about 5 years ago, a major Amtrak derailment
Yeah.
heading into Philadelphia. The I had booked because I was doing it for work. I was like, I don't want to fly. That's just a pain. I'm just going to take the DC Metro to the Amtrak station, Union Station in DC, and just take the Amtrak up to Philly. Like it's a 90-minute train ride, and so not 4 hours after I booked that ticket, that train derails. And I was thinking, oh shit, I got to rebook because I'm going to have to fly now because that track will be open. But they opened up the day before I went up there, and the trip took longer because they were restricted on speed, which was the big factor of that derailment. Um,
How fast is too fast?
well, I used to take the MARC train from DC out to Martinsburg. In the summer, they restrict it to 40 miles an hour because if the trains are above or the tracks are above 90 degrees or the weather is above 90 degrees where the tracks are, they do warp.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
if you
yeah.
go too fast, it'll warp. Um, but that's because we use the freight tracks for MARC and not dedicated transit tracks. And so which makes going from DC to Martinsburg like a 3.5 hour trip. Oh,
Ooh.
somebody got wrecked. We've got a kerfuffle. Purr, purr. And the penalty is for closing a hand on the puck. Awesome. It's crazy what they call as far as penalties.
Okay, so did you see this replay?
I just caught the very end of the replay. Now they're on the.
I don't know how Statsny's hit wasn't he just cross-checked a guy who was on his knees on the ice.
Well, see,
and knocked his helmet off. I mean, that was a full stick to the face cross check.
Yeah,
of a guy waist level. How do you not call that?
Got a goal. Jets convert on the power play. Yeah, so at the beginning of the season, that was the emphasis, is that the refs were going to be calling cross-checking a whole lot more. They did the first 5 games of the season. Yeah, the cross-checking penalties were called a lot more. Oh wow!
Do you see it?
No. That was I was just looking at the goal. Yeah, that was not a good one for Sheldon. But ever since, at least the very if you're going to be charitable, you can say it's from Christmas on, we haven't seen cross-checking penalties called.
Dude, I mean, I hate Toronto as much as the next non-Toronto fan, but that was a very, 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 very dirty hit.
Yeah. Oh, and we got a game-tying goal for the Leafs.
Dave, stop. 2 minutes behind.
Have you seen a power play goal yet?
Yes, I just saw it.
John T with the game tire. So this is not a game for the goaltenders tonight.
Nah, this one's all stats, man. It's a pretty good game, though. It's been interesting. Ooh. Oh. Tavares rebound. Nice.
Toronto's in a solid playoff position. They're not gonna fall out of the playoffs, but they are in the positioning game, and nobody. I don't think anybody
in the playoffs.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to play Florida in the first round.
No. I don't think anybody in the right mind wants to play Florida at all.
Yeah,
Florida is hot.
But man, I mean, I just think of the potential who you have to face to get to the Stanley Cup Finals out of the East. You would have to go through Florida, Tampa, Carolina, the Rangers. I think any one of those teams could get into the Rangers are probably the least confident of those teams because they're a young team and they really haven't had that playoff success yet. But the way they're playing, yeah, definitely, I could see the Rangers getting a chance of getting into at least into the finals, the conference finals. Let's see. I guess last story of the night before we wrap up. Rick Jeanneret night in Buffalo is tomorrow night. They're playing the Nashville Predators, who won't have the Juggy uh, uniform yet, sadly.
It's gonna happen, man. It needs
Gotta
to
happen.
happen.
It's got to happen now.
And you know what the best
Let it
part
be
is?
written. Let it be done.
They put the Gold Mine roller coaster from Dollywood in the background.
There you go. That would be awesome. But yeah, so Rick Jeanneret, longtime voice of the Buffalo Sabres. He's called all but one season, first season of Buffalo Sabres hockey. Um, they've already named the uh, broadcast booth for a the former TV voice of the Sabres, Ted Darling, who passed away of cancer in the mid '90s, early '90s actually. Um, but there's going to be something that they do for Rick Jeanneret as far as the you know Rick Jeanneret Media Center or something along that lines. They're raising a banner with the microphone on the banner in his honor. Um,
See, that's somebody who deserves a banner.
yeah, yeah. Um, I've got a white Mitchell and Ness Buffalo Sabres classic jersey, 70s era jersey. Uh, I met Rick Jeanneret at a Atlanta road show. They do road shows when they were traveling, and Rick Jeanneret was there. Darcy Regier, Lindy Ruff, and some of the other broadcast partners were there. Harry Neal was there, um, but the only guy I would let sign that jersey was Rick Jeanneret, and he signed right on the Buffalo. And still have not gotten that thing. I need to get that thing framed and hung up. So, but I can't imagine that. Of course, this is the last season calling games. I can't imagine. Dan Dunleavy does good because Rick has been cutting back on games. He only does about 20 a season now, but not ever hearing Rick Jeanneret calling a live game ever again is sad to me. I'm glad that the Sabres are playing better this season, especially down the stretch here. So that he has some excitement to call because the last few years have been rough, and you could tell it's been weighing on him. I just wish he could have gone out, with some kind of playoffs or that type of thing. But just a great career for Rick Jeanneret, one of my favorite voices of all time in sports, and one of the best voices in NHL history. He's a Foster Hewitt, which is it's a how broadcasters get in the NHL. You get the Foster Hewitt voice, and you're NHL Hall of Fame broadcaster, and lots of Buffalo Sports Hall of Famer stuff. So I'm glad to I'm glad and sad. So Friday will be rough, and he's calling games down towards all the home games for the rest of the season. But it's tough knowing that this is going to be the last ride. All right, man. Got anything else for the week?
I'm going to sleep. I'm working exotic animal expos just about every weekend from now until I die.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've got to be in Huntington Saturday, and right now I'm looking for tickets to Poland. I'm going to be flying to Poland for a little bit, so
yeah,
I'm tired.
I hear you, man. So scores before we head out for the evening. We got Austin up 2-1 over the Devils. Grizzled, can't say his name. Grizzlick. That's it. Grizzlick. And Jake DeBrusk have scored for the Bruins, and Jack Hughes got his 25th. He's come along quite nicely. I mean, he's not the Connor McDavid or anything like that as first overall pick, but
Yeah, but nobody
25
is
goal,
except for Connor McDavid, right? So
25 goal season in his third season now, and I think on a losing New Jersey Devils team. So if they get some offensive pieces to go around him, that can only go up for the Devils. As we've been watching the 3-3 game between the Jets and the Leafs, Wheeler, Stastny, and Ehlers have scored. Ehlers was on the power play. Giordano, William Nylander, and Johnny T scored for Johnny Pajamas. Scored for the Leafs. Panthers. Well, that was quick. We just looked at it. It was 0-0. It's 2-0 now. Barkov and Lombard scored on the score for the Panthers. Blue Jackets have come back on the Islanders 2-2. Bemstrom and Danforth have scored for the Blue Jackets. I don't know. They're scoring. The 4 goals for Bemstrom, and I think it's Emil Bemstrom, and I don't know Danforth's first name, but 6th goal for him. The lesser Sebastian Aho for the Islanders, and Oliver Wahlstrom gets his 13th. Hurricanes are up 3-0 on the Canadians. No big surprise there. The greater Sebastian Aho, Alex Svechnikov, and Teuvo Teravainen. Andrei Svechnikov have scored for the Hurricanes. And underway in Minnesota, the Penguins are up on the Wild 1-0, 13-12 left in the first. Ricard Raquel scored only 1 minute, 6 seconds into the game. Quick start for the Penguins. All of the game to play for the Penguins are on the power play. All the game to play for the Wild. So. 9 o'clock start, Sharks and Avalanche in Colorado. 9 o'clock start, Flames and Kings in Calgary. And the Ducks will host the Stars. The interesting thing about that is this is the second consecutive game where the Stars and Ducks have played in Anaheim. So it's a home series for Anaheim. Home. All right, man.
All right, Tom Wilson.
Number 2, he got it in. He got the second one in. There we go. Guaranteed 2 times a show. Yeah, that's because he's a broadcast professional.
Professional.
Uphold
my promises.
All right. Well, thanks, man. We'll see you next week. Are you going to get any more exotic animals? I know you got a gecko.
I don't know. Do you know how many tarantulas I have?
I don't want to know.
I have 63 tarantulas. I have 13 scorpions. I have had tailless whip scorpions. I have 16 species of isopods.
Have you ever been hit by a scorpion?
I have not. I have a desert hairy. If I was going to get licked by one, that would be the one that I would want. They're pretty much a bee sting. Now I have one that can kill 4 people in a row, easy, bicolor. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I just don't get stung,
I'm hoping that.
Like my tarantulas. I don't want to get bit by any of them. I have one of them that I'll be paralyzed for a few days if it gets me.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Luckily, none of them are known to be fatal, unless I have an allergic reaction, and then I'm dead within 10 minutes. But, that's everything.
Yeah.
And I'm ordering a domestic beetle colony. I'm going to start cleaning skulls and bones and stuff for people and things. So that should be pretty interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey, go Toronto.
And you caught that one. I didn't even know that they scored. Yeah, so 4-3. It looked like Nylander again. Yeah, William.
I think it was Matthews.
Was it? It's Matthews. I think that's 50.
Marner, rebound, loose in front, score. Might have been Marner.
Let's see. What does the Oracle say?
Nylander.
Nylander on the power play. So he's got a pair tonight. He's at 26 on the season.
Good
so, yeah.
I like William Nylander.
Yeah, a couple of he's the better Nylander brother. A couple guys are on the cusp of 50. Draisaitl, I think, is at 49, and Austin
Matthews.
Matthews is at 49 as well. So, anyway, well, I will see you next week. Have fun doing your trade shows, going to Huntington. Don't get too wild in Huntington.
Man, I'm too old to get wild anymore. I don't have it in me. I got all that out in my early 20s, and I'm still in my early 20s. So,
Good Lord. So young. So.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Super.
All right, man. Well, have a good night. Thanks, everyone, for watching on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. We'll be back Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Take it easy, guys.
Have a good one.